Hi, I'm Med.
And I'm Charlie.
Today on Real Talk, we have a very special guest.
Hi, yes. So my working name, if we're being profesh, is the Countess.
The is important.
The Countess.
Amazing.
But you can just call me Countess. I started doing camming.
Oh, yeah.
And then someone would come into your cam room and be like, hey, like, humiliate me. And I'd be like, okay.
If you insist.
And yeah, it snowballed. And it was like logging onto that cam call that first day was the best decision I've ever made. Wow. Like I can point that moment in my life to be the moment where shit changed and I took control of my destiny.
Did you feel nervous? Did you kind of like not know what to do? Like that first question coming through, did you feel like, cool, how am I going to be doing it? Or did it just flow naturally?
It just flowed.
Yeah.
So you turn the camera on and you're like sat there like, hi, just like from here to here, like hello. It was fucking awkward as fuck because my husband's in the room going like, what do you say? But I was just chatting to this guy about his day and he's like, I really love it when dominant women humiliate me. And I'm like, all right.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And he's just like, great, I'll come back and see you tomorrow. And I earned more in that moment than I would have earned in a day at my old job. And I was like, okay, so even when I pay tax, even when I buy a uniform, even when I do, I just made that in like 20 minutes. Yeah. This is insane.
And you enjoyed it.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't get naked. I didn't do anything that I felt was pushing a boundary.
Yeah. I love hearing kind of the experiences because obviously I feel like as well nowadays, the sex work industry there are so many opinions out there. And a lot of the opinions are coming from people who don't actually work in that industry. So it's so kind of, I think it's so insightful to hear those first moments where you say, I felt more dehumanized in, let's say, an office job or in a 9 to 5 than I do now, which obviously society has very specific stigmas on this particular profession. I just find it so interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy that people look to you as a dominatrix, a porn performer, and go, you are the downfall of women.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, can't we just be angry at the system, not the people? Be angry at the system, not the system.
Angry at the system, not the sisters.
Like,
I want that tattooed on me.
The majority of people who are doing this, in fact, I say, like literally everybody. Everybody who has a job needs that money to feed the kids, pay the rent, pay the mortgage, put petrol in the car. Like everybody who works, nobody's doing it for the fun of it.
Yeah.
But if you've managed to find something that works for you, your family, and your own sense of identity, who are we to argue with that?
What's like a typical day to you? What's your day to day?
Day to day is I wake up very early because that's the best time to get work done when there's no one bothering you. Okay. So I will tend to respond to all my messages on like my platforms. Which I can't probably mention. So I will respond to all my lovely people. I have certain people in my WhatsApp that I speak to one-on-one. So I will be doing messages from like 4 a.m.
So personable as well.
Well, I love them.
Yeah.
Like this is not just a relationship like, oh, pay me. This is like, oh, hey, good morning. Like there are certain people I fucking love. I love them. Yeah. And there are certain people that I can't stand.
Of course.
So I wake up really early, answer all my messages, and then by that time it's school run time. So I have 2 kids and wonderful husband, and we like do the kid thing. School run, no eye contact. I don't want to fucking see anyone. Pretend I'm normal. And then I will come back to my home office and I will predominantly answer emails, speak with my assistant, speak with my team, and just be like, right, who needs me to do what? Yeah. So the things that I do around my day and my business structure are only the things that need my absolute pivotal personal input. Everything else I delegate out because my time is more valuable doing the things that need that special touch than like writing an email to somebody in response for something. Yeah. So yeah, it's primarily a lot of like admin and it's not sexy.
Get AI to do it.
Oh, I do.
Sorry.
Med is obsessed with AI.
Anything to make your work easier.
What does your ChatGPT call you?
My lord.
I have my own ChatGPT.
It's nice. You'll be like, oh, this, that, and the other. Be like, my lord.
Anything. Yes. If you ask Med anything, he'll be like, 1 second. So can you just tell me, like, he's obsessed
No,
with
I get it too, I am. I even, the other day, to my shame, I even asked ChatGPT to tell me what the best prompt might be to find out the answer to this thing I needed. So I didn't even ask it to tell me what prompt I should say.
What should I ask to make my job easier?
Yeah. Something that I wanted to ask, are there specific reasons you feel like people come to you for? Or is it honestly just like a complete myriad of different things?
Ultimately, we're all just looking to feel safe and comfortable in ourselves. So when someone comes to me and they're like, all right, love, I have a cheeky little wank, I'm just like, yeah. You want to feel safe and well in yourself,
wow.
but I'm really not connecting on that deeper level. But then it goes all the way to like, you are the person I need to make me feel complete. And I'm like, cool. And then there's like 60,000 stops along the way, and the journey is totally different for every dominatrix client too.
And how does that make you feel when someone says to you, you're the thing that's making me feel comfortable and safe and like happy with my full authentic self? Like, how does that make you feel?
I feel like my purpose, I know that sounds really weird.
No.
Because now it seems like I'm serving, but my purpose is to lead and to lead people who want to be led, not those who don't. But that consensual agreement of, I love it when you make decisions. And I love it when you listen to me make a decision. You know, providing it's the right decision.
Yeah.
Respect, admiration, I support you, I love you, but I am going to put you through the fucking ringer.
But that's what they want. Though.
That's friendship.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they want. But a true friend will say, babe, no, don't wear that. Do not do this. I'm like a business advisor, therapist, a best friend, but I'm always truthful. And I'm always like, no.
You don't beat around the bush.
If they need the bush beating.
Have there been times where you've had to, maybe you've had a long-term relationship with someone? Because I'm presuming most of the people that you do interact with are quite long-term clients.
Yeah.
And have there been times where you've had to cut off the interaction because they've grown attached in a way that isn't viable for you or isn't productive for you from a business perspective?
Business perspective always comes second to emotional well-being.
Okay.
Because without that stability and balance and self-care, you're going to find yourself not performing in the business sense anyway. So you have to prioritize you first. But yeah, I have come up with that. And I've had, when I was pregnant, actually, I had this person who was really, really intense. And I was like, look, I respect you're going through it, but so am I right now.
Yeah.
And you need to step back. And that was difficult.
Yeah.
You know, but it's common, not just in my job, it's common for lots of people.
Yeah.
Like, people get obsessive, people get stalkery, people do things that you don't want to do.
And there's a line and they can't really be crossing that. Yeah. Switching it up a little bit, what's the funniest assumption people make about your role?
That I'm trafficked. That I'm not happy.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that my husband is my pimp.
No. What,
that's kind of a slay.
They DM you saying like, I
No,
can
they
free
never.
you and shit. Oh,
No.
right.
I could free
That's
you.
what- no, but-
Giving Liam Neeson like, I'll come get you.
Track you down.
I know where you live.
Literally.
Oh, so they just assume like you're
I
just
think
doing
society assumes that I'm not happy in my role and that I'm pandering to the male gaze. And I am, but for my own gain. And I'm chill with that.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to pander to the male gaze stepping outside on the street. I might as well get paid for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like anti-sexual exploitation groups that are like, this is terrible, this poor person. Like, any commercial sexuality is sexual exploitation. But I'm exploiting myself and I'm okay with, in the same way as if I was waking up at like 6 a.m. to go for, you know, like the shift at whatever place. You're still exploiting yourself in some way. It's all work, it's all labour.
I think that argument I always find so ironic as well, because the people who are saying that typically aren't the people who are advocating for the people who are actually being potentially victims of human trafficking, and whether that's in like different countries or like underdeveloped countries or like people, women specifically, who are in those vulnerable positions. It's never the people who are advocating for them who are also having a go at the women who actually have bodily autonomy. I feel like they just can't seem to split their minds for some reason.
There does tend to be like a really overpowering narrative of just a few voices in the anti-sex work space and the kind of swerve space.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who's been through it, who's had a negative experience, and we have to value that. Like, every experience is valid, even negative ones. And there are harms in the industry. But what we're doing is working towards a better, safer environment. And then whoever chooses to do whatever job they want can do it safely. But like, again, don't be mad at the sisters, be mad at the system.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're mad at someone for doing something because they're free, you shouldn't be mad at them because they're doing something because they're free. Be mad at yourself for following the system and putting you in this cage. So
I did this job because I needed money and I wanted to earn well and have my own autonomy over the hours that I worked.
Yeah.
I wanted a job that worked for me, and so I went and found it. If there was a different job, I may well have done that.
when you started doing this, like how did like friends and family react to your choice of like changing career?
Everyone was really supportive.
Good.
Yeah, mega supportive. I love my friends and family. I love them. A lot of people were like, wow, I've noticed such a change in you.
And the way you carry yourself, I imagine it's fucking...
For sure. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I know I'm bloody lucky. Like, not a lot of people have that. Certainly not. And I'm lucky to be in that privileged position that if I was facing any kind of, like, problems, I know I've got a really strong backing at home.
Yeah.
Like, I know everyone's got my back.
I've seen a lot of stuff about how people in the sex work industry tend to face quite a lot of financial discrimination. So whether it's a case of, like, not being blocked from loans or like being kicked out of banks and like not like physically kicked out of banks, but like their bank accounts being closed because it's deemed, I suppose, I guess like freelancers as well sometimes like unstable profession or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've ever experienced?
I mean, there's living paycheck to paycheck, which is hard. Then there's living invoice to invoice, which is hard. But imagine living client to client.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough.
Yeah.
But there are ways that you can kind of try and mitigate the financial insecurity that you do have. And that's by being across lots of broad kind of platforms and things like that. So should one go down, you can jump to the next.
Yeah.
But you're always facing financial discrimination from like the powers that be. But it kind of comes from a place of stigma, and the more we talk about it and the more we call it out, the less likely it's going to happen again.
Yeah,
so
of
I
course.
had I was on the phone to my bank because my account was flagged for fraud, and I had like thousands of pounds in this bank account that I needed to pay the people who work for me, who are not necessarily sex workers. Some are. They're not necessarily in vulnerable positions, but we all need to be paid, right?
Of course.
So I was on the phone to the bank, and I said to him, like, why is my account flagged for fraud? He couldn't tell me. I just said, is it because I'm a sex worker? And he was like, I don't know what you mean. And the guy was a bit kind of spluttering on the phone because when you say the word, like, sex, people go...
Yeah, they freak out a little bit.
But then the conversation went on and I was like, okay, so you're telling me that there's no fraud, but there's questionable transactions. What are these questionable transactions? And he was like, well, this one here is from this, this, and this. And I was like, that is a porn platform. I'll say the word.
Yeah.
And I eventually kind of talked him through it all. And he was like, yeah, I guess there is no fraud here. And I was like, guess. Yeah, I guess too. Let me prove it to you. But yeah, I managed to kind of talk him through it and be like, I'm trying to be transparent. And ever since then, I've kind of like fully been out to my bank. Because there's coming out to the world.
Coming out to my
and there's coming out to your friends and family. But then you have to come out to your bank and that's difficult. But the financial discrimination on like porn platforms and stuff, like the financial insecurity you face is because people will do a transaction, they'll buy something, then they'll feel shame because of the shame that we put onto it. Then they'll try and reverse that transaction. And then that's where you get these high flagging of fraud come from.
I didn't even think about that.
So it's not us.
Yeah.
It's almost like the clients.
Yeah.
But if you were perhaps a bit more open with the, damn, my desires took over and I made a silly mistake, well, it's my fucking fault, I'll stick with it.
Oh yeah, I'm just like, can you cancel that transaction? I don't know how it's happened. Like, just own it. With your clients, where do they find you? Do they email? When you first started, like, I know you said you had a mentor. Did they kind of like guide you on how to like pick up clients? Was it like word of mouth, or do you just go out there and like, hey?
Just kind of go out there, figure it out. I mean, for time immemorial, people have been doing this. So people have had desire to do it and desire to seek the services of someone. So there's always a way, right? There was phone boxes, there's writing on the cave wall in Pompeii or whatever it may be. Like Brenda's great at shagging, I don't know.
Uses a paddle so well.
So there's always ways. I guess it's social media. And actually this brings me to like a really problematic mind fuck. So because we have such stringent rules now coming in on social media, you can't do things on there that you could do when I first started in the industry. You kind of got to be a bit safe for work. So that leads you to do things that are like a little suggestive. So now basically social media is just full of people jiggling with their clothes on. And I feel like such a dick for doing it. And I'm like, I don't want my children to see this. I feel it's inappropriate, but this is the only place left for me to do something that suggests and signals to an adult, this is what you'll find if you follow me.
Okay. Did you see the breastfeeding thing on Instagram?
No, but hit me with it.
So, I did see that.
That's so funny because I wasn't asking you. Basically, there was this thing that was so interesting a little while ago that OnlyFans models were doing, where because there was a real thing, obviously, on Instagram, like you were saying, they're kind of cracking down on a lot more explicit, suggestive content. A lot of women were simulating breastfeeding with like fake dolls or whatever to basically promo their own OnlyFans because that was going through the cracks kind of thing.
Allowed, yeah.
Yeah, and that was okay. Kind of genius. Like, it was a bit, obviously, you could argue that it's kind of weird in a way because breastfeeding also, we don't want to portray as sexual because then it discourages women from breastfeeding in public or in places.
Breastfeeding is a fetish.
Yeah, true. This is true. So it's kind of like, it's a layered one.
It's a complex one.
Yeah, but I just thought it was so interesting because I was like, these girls are thrifty. Like, they're so clever. Like, it's something that I just would never have thought of myself.
There's no greater entrepreneur than anyone working in the sex industry because you're constantly ducking and diving regulation, rules, constraints of like financial changes, platform changes, bloody like algorithms, fighting against algorithms all the time. So yeah, I mean, go for it.
Going back to clients, what should they know basically before booking?
Before booking? Babes, they ain't even getting to the booking page. Like, before booking, they're going to have known me years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. This is a marathon.
Okay.
Like, as I say, I have worked my way to become so specialist, so in demand that I can sit back and go, no. Okay, yeah, I'll see you.
That's such a
okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's not just like an easy sort of like, hey, DM, money.
Like,
so
there's no amount of money that could push my boundaries because that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
No matter how good the offer sounds, if your tummy goes, don't
Trust
do
your
it.
instinct. Okay, yeah,
absolutely.
One of the things that I was initially really interested in was this concept of like, a lot of the people that you eventually do end up having these long-term engagements with, are they people who've regularly used dominatrix in the past? Are they typically people who maybe have always had this desire, but you're the person that's unlocked it for them? Or again, is it kind of a mixture of both?
Total mix. It's total mix. And like, people say, well, what does your typical client look like? And I always say, the next person you see, that's my client. Because it's anyone. I built some technology recently to stop intimate image abuse. That's what I do in my spare time.
Wait, you built technology to do what?
To stop intimate image abuse. So you know when...
That's so
like, being a sex worker, your images are just like free reign.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm stopping this. So I work with this person. We basically created this technology that means when I send out nudes, so I send out 10 different nudes, well, they're all the same, but I send to 10 different people.
Yeah.
I can, if I need to, find who that person was that shared that individual image. Because obviously you're sending it to 10 people, you do lose an element of control.
Yeah.
So this deters them from sharing it further. And it's not, you shouldn't send a nude. Like, no way. Do what you want. But know that if you're going to send that out to someone else, you're just as at risk because your data is in that. So yeah, it's available. It's for platforms to embed into their systems.
Yeah.
So say like OnlyFans, for example. They haven't got it yet, but maybe one day. Yeah. So yeah, if you share a nude,
they'll be able to track down who's...
You're in trouble.
Tell us some of the stuff that you've done at Parliament.
I've spoken about women's rights, especially intimate images and what they call revenge porn. We've tried to get that changed. I've spoken in European Union as well, in the Parliament there, about the changes to the Digital Services Act that they were making. I'm going to New York in March.
So cool. Is that something that you kind of like expected to come from this, or is it something that like as you've gone along, you've obviously, I'm presuming, with the experience, felt so much stronger as well? Because obviously anyone who kind of interacts in that space or is interested in politics obviously will have opinions on it.
Yeah.
But you have kind of first-hand experience of how these things can like damage people or harm people or how it can harm yourself. So is that something that you just kind of thought, actually, no, I need to be speaking about this more?
I never thought, turning on that cam that day, that I would be a spokesperson for the experiences of sex workers. Like, no. And I still don't feel like I deserve that. But I don't know. I'm just, someone will ask me and I'll be like, okay, I'll say something. Like, there are other people. Like, does everyone else want to come along? But not everybody has that ability to be able to stand up and say, I am counted. So I spoke in the Welsh Senedd a little while back, and that was so moving because I grew up in Wales and learnt Welsh, and there's all this like Welsh around me, and I stood up and I was like, I'm a sex worker and I am finally accepted by this moment. And it was so good. Never thought that would happen. No way.
I love
and
that.
I need to caveat, like, I don't represent all sex workers. There are as many individual journeys as there are people.
Oh, for sure.
And everyone deserves their right to say something.
Yeah. So we kind of want to get your opinions on a few people.
Go on.
I've covered Bonnie Blue quite a lot. I do writing for Screenshots website. Something that I've always said when I've covered her is that this is obviously coming from someone who isn't in the sex work industry, and therefore I can only really share a certain level of opinion on it. We had to find out what your thoughts were, because I know you're saying obviously everyone's journey is differently, but you are the expert in that scenario. So I want to know what your thoughts are on her, and just kind of on what the future as well of the sex work industry looks like with those figures like Bonnie and Lily.
It's really difficult to comment on how another person makes their money. Like I say, be mad at the system. If somebody said to me, I can give you an opportunity to make loads of money, kind of gonna like snark on your morals a little bit. I mean, I'd think, I would think twice. And I'd go, should I? And why would we ever condemn someone for taking the opportunities that are in front of them and maximising them?
Yeah.
It's legal. Is it moral? Not to me. Is it problematic? Yes, I think so. But I support to make as many decisions as she wants with her body.
No, I completely get that. I think that was something I got from watching it, was the comments, even the people who were commenting in, I think, probably what they thought was a caring way of, she's clearly not okay and she clearly needs more support and et cetera, which I'm not saying their intentions were bad. I think probably they thought that they were saying that in a way of loving and supporting her. But to me, I'm kind of like you in a way of, she is her own person. I'm not going to sit here and be like, she's obviously not okay, the fact that she's doing, because then that's again reinforcing this idea of something must be wrong with her if she's doing this.
Reinforcing that a woman can't make her own choices.
Well, exactly.
Like, if you can be covered in head to toe in tattoos, or you can sit in a box above the Thames for 1,000 hours, the human body will push itself for fame, for money. Well, we do stupid things, and who cares what she's going to look back and think? She made that decision that was right for her at that time.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the more we talk about it, the kind of more drama that comes around it. But I feel like we should step back and look at how it happened. And if there were more stringent things in place for pornography, you probably wouldn't have got to this situation, because you wouldn't be able to have any kind of genital contact with someone without certain testing parameters. And can you find that many people who have met those certain testing parameters within that time frame? Probably unlikely. So you're already limiting the possibilities by putting in a little bit of like regulation. And people don't like it when you say regulation. But every industry, from plumbing, hairdressing, you get qualifications, you get regulations, you get industry standards. There are none. It's all self-regulated. And if you want to be seen as a genuinely welcoming, honest, open, tax-paying, like decent environment kind of industry, you kind of need to toe the line a little bit.
Do you have in mind things that were the next steps in an ideal world?
I have things that I know I would prefer the system do, but there are others that can definitely speak on that. I mean, I've helped influence the Fair Work Foundation's guidance for what a great platform looks like. So in terms of like digital structure for like an OnlyFans and stuff like that, there are ways in which you can score them, and you can say, well, this place doesn't pay me when I need to be paid, or this place takes a really high percentage but doesn't actually provide me with a way of reporting if someone is really problematic. So like, you can create a score for these platforms. I don't think the system's out yet, but they're working on it. You can create a score that kind of says, what is ethical to this minimum standard? Like, does this place protect me as a worker? Does this place give me like equal rights compared to someone who is white or someone who is kind of conventionally Western pretty? Like, what are we working with, and how does that score? There are ways to make porn more ethical. It needs community involvement, and it needs governments to listen and recognise that this is a genuine place where you just can live. And
thank you so much for being here, by the way. Honestly, like, it's been really interesting and really, very insightful, and just also really like fun to hear, I think, about the happiness of it. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes like these convos, there's so much importance to be had there about the seriousness of certain topics, but there's also like that side of it where it's really nice to hear being like, I love what I do, and this is so much fun, and I get so much enjoyment out of it. Even you just being like, I don't think that I have a job. Like, I wake up so excited. Like, I just think that that's a really, really valuable conversation in and of itself.
I've traveled the world. Man.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
I think it's also like, it's really refreshing how open you are about it, and like the confidence you carry with it. It's very kind of like endearing, and it's been really fun. Honestly, like, I've just been like kind of like completely in the zone and kind of like wanting to like know more.
Yeah. To wrap things up, if you could, which this is kind of a difficult question because obviously like your job and your kind of also position of knowledge is quite a multifaceted one, but like, if there was one message, you've also had some great one-liners, so I can imagine you have some more in there. If there was like one message that you could kind of give people about what you do and about this industry, something that they can take away from this, where they think, okay, I never thought about it like that, or I'm glad that I've learned, what would it be?
Difficult to summarise.
Yeah.
But I would say behind every image you see, behind every porno, GIF, or whatever it may be, there is a person who's just trying to get by, just trying to do their thing in a way that suits them.
Thank you so much, Countess.
Pleasure.
This has been really fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on board. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.